Hello, everyone, and welcome to Against the Ropes. I am your host, Adam, alongside my co-host, Money Mike Presley. How's it going, Mike?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. You know, we got a big show ahead of us tonight. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. As everyone knows, it's a big month for WWE, with the 1,000th episode of Raw coming up, and Mike and I got to talking, and we're like, you know what? Let's highlight our top 5 moments from our past watching Raw on Monday nights, and let's go ahead and get to it. Mike is going to give you 5 moments. I'm going to give you 5. They're all separate, and we'll give you a little bit of feedback, and we'll talk about each other's. And of course, if you have any that we missed, be sure to put them on our comments on Facebook or YouTube. So without further ado, Mike, what you got on the table first?
The first one is going. I think this one has to be probably one of the biggest screw ups. I think for WCW. Because that's probably a common thing with mine is that a lot of them have to do with the Monday Night Wars. But for this one, Mankind winning the WWE title for the first time. I know you have another moment on here with Mick Foley, but I think this one is probably near the top for maybe top 5 Mick Foley moments. Specifically because of what happened on Nitro. And the amazing thing about this is that at the time WCW and WWE, they would go back and forth and take shots at each other, and whenever they basically wanted to. And this one backfired. The former WCW announcer Tony Schiavone thought it would be nice to give away the ending to the. I think he was facing The Rock, I believe. The ending of the title match, and you got to remember at this time, Raw was taped every once in a while, where I think it was every other week, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And to show you how much this is like, how big this was, if you go to Tony Schiavone's Wikipedia page, it has its own section on his Wikipedia page. That's how big this was. And I quote, "Fans don't even think about changing the channel, because we've learned that at our competition, Mick Foley, who used to wrestle here as Cactus Jack, is going to win their world title." Talk about putting asses in the seats. Well, it sure did.
Yeah, and like, I actually just recently reread Mick Foley's second autobiography, Foley is Good, and immediately following that remark, 100,000 households changed the channel to Raw. And I remember Foley, talking about how, I don't think Raw went 7 minutes over. I think it ended at like 11 or whatever. And he said that the irony was that as soon as Raw went off the air, most people switched back over to WCW to watch the ending of their main event. And he said it's sad because people actually, since they tuned back over, that meant that they actually wanted to see WCW's main event. But they goofed and told them what was happening on the other channel. So like, well, I got to check this out. Let me call my friend and tell him what's going on. And it just goes to show you could try to upstage someone and like, oh, I want to give away everything, your secrets, and it backfires. Especially with someone like Mick Foley, who people seem to love, even though he's not like The Rock and he's not like Stone Cold. He's different than everybody else, and he puts his body on the line every time he gets in that ring, so people love him for it. And so when you tell people, oh, he got a championship, that's what people are going to do. They're going to change the channel and look at this and watch it.
And you got to remember, too, is, this was before, all, basically before the internet and before the dirt sheets. So that pretty much, give away spoilers now.
Yeah.
So, so basically, 100,000 households changed the channel all because of what Tony Schiavone said.
Yeah.
And, and 100,000, I mean, that's, you wouldn't have, there was no Twitter, no Facebook. I mean, you've had, 100,000, you've had to probably call your friends, call them and say, hey, turn on Raw. Mick Foley's going to win the title. You had, and it's just, that was just so pivotal because I think that was when it really started, I think, going downhill for WCW.
Yeah, and I remember in the book, Mick Foley talking about he called Tony and he left a message and, just told him, like, I don't see how you could do something like that, say something like that, and, it really hurt his feelings. And so Tony calls him back and he's all sad about it, like, I didn't want to, but I was told to, and, it just goes to show you try to be tongue-in-cheek and, like, oh, well, if they already know what's going to happen, they're not going to tune over. Sometimes that's what WWE does. Sometimes they'll leak out, who's going to be there next week or what match is going to happen, and that gets people intrigued, like, oh, I got to see this.
Yep.
And WCW just didn't think that one through. And it backfired. And, I think you're right. I think from then on, WCW just got worse and worse. I'm just kind of disappointed that I didn't get to see this. I don't know if I was watching wrestling at this time. I do not remember seeing it. I'm disappointed that I missed it. But I definitely think it deserves the spot on top 5. Well played. Well played. Alright, well, I guess we'll move on now to the first one on my list. I mean, these are in no particular order, except for the last one. The last ones for both of us are probably our favorites on this list, but the rest are in no particular order. My top 5 are probably my personal favorites that I remember seeing. I'm sure there's plenty of moments that I love that I just don't remember. And there's tons of them that should probably be on this list, but they didn't make the impact like the ones on my list did. And while we're on it, might as well keep talking about Mick Foley. Mick Foley, probably one of the funnier segments, hosts a special night in The Rock's life, bringing out his old teacher, his ex-girlfriend from high school, his gym coach, and then Yurple, wasn't that her name? Yurple? The clown? It was just a hilarious segment, and this was when The Rock was kind of a jerk, but people still loved him anyways, and so he could get away with, the put down and the, I'm a jerk, but I'm hilarious. And what started out as an over-the-top apology just turned into probably one of the funniest segments on Raw. There's just not a lot to say.
Yeah, the funny thing, and I don't know, is do you have The Rock's DVD? The new one that came out?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
The funny thing about this segment is, and they talk about it in The Rock's DVD, and, Mick Foley says that, that segment went on longer than it should have. And that back, I think Mick said, Vince was in the back going all crazy because it was going on longer than he wanted to, and then the next day, they talk about it. It's like, Rock went up to him and said, you hear about the ratings. And I think to this day, I believe, it is still one of the highest rated segments on Raw.
Yeah, I think I remember that now. Now that you mention that, I remember reading that. Yeah. I mean, it was funny. It was well done. And it deserves that spot in the histories of Raw. I mean, in the history of Raw.
Yeah.
Of course, it's...
Honestly, I don't think anybody could tell you what else happened on that episode of Raw.
Yeah, probably not.
It's just that, that's the episode of, This Is Your Life. Yeah. Yeah, I know that one. And it's like, I don't think nobody can tell you, because that's probably, again, that's like one of the most memorable segments in Raw ever. Probably ones that probably still in the back of people's minds.
And I didn't know this until I rewatched it the other day. Triple H breaks it up at the end. I didn't know that. I didn't remember that at all. And so it's like, it just goes to show I don't know what it goes to show you. I lost my train of thought there, not even gonna lie to you. I'm still thinking about clowns at this point. Balloon animals. I don't think there's just much to say about this. I mean, it is what it is. There's nothing to analyze. It was just a funny segment between two funny guys. And it's well deserved to be remembered. There's just nothing to say. Yeah. What's your next one, Mike? Unless you've got something to add.
No. My next one is when Stone Cold Steve Austin stunned Vince for the first time. Now, weeks prior, Austin was, he was going, basically doing whatever he wanted to do. And we all knew, and everybody knew at that point, that eventually he was going to get Vince. And nobody knew when, but then he did. And that, pretty much set up probably the biggest, wrestler authority figure storyline in all of professional wrestling. Because the way both of them, they had great chemistry together, and you could see that. And both of them just kind of brought out the best in both of them. This whole rivalry did.
Yeah.
And, the thing about this is that Tony Schiavone gave away the results in Nitro, but, many people, say, that Austin and his popularity helped the WWE win the war against Nitro. So you can kind of say without Austin, stunning McMahon, and without stunning them, I don't know if they win the war.
Yeah, I mean, that's hard to say. And honestly, one of the probably first things I remember about watching wrestling is the Austin McMahon feud. And I remember one that sticks out in my mind is it was Shane and Vince and Austin, and they had like ladders lined up to the ring. And I think they were getting ready for some type of ladder match. I don't remember what pay-per-view or anything. I just remember that and just Austin and just sticking it to his balls. I mean, everyone always has that boss that they just don't like, and they wish they could just beat up. And Vince is so great at not only just being a jerk, but like it's so satisfying to watch him get beat up. Like even more so than your average heel. And he looks good doing it. Like, some people would say like, some of the bosses would oh, excuse me. Sorry, my apologies. Sorry about that. Should have put my phone on silent. Thank you, Pee Wee Herman. I'm a rebel. Anyways, yeah, and it's just a. Oh my. It is just probably one of my fonder memories, and something I think they try to do with, and I think me and you talked about it. They try to do with Laurinaitis and Punk, and Laurinaitis, while he was good in certain aspects, he just was not Vince McMahon. And yeah, and it's it's going to be a sad day when we lose Vince McMahon. Like he may have his faults, and he may not always do what we think is right, but the grand scheme of things, you say without Stone Cold Steve Austin, we may not have the war when, think about Vince McMahon, and I think it was Stone Cold helped, but I think it was a combined effort of, Undertaker, Mick Foley, The Rock, and then also WCW's downfall, just them, the bad booking ideas, and, I recently watched WCW, DVD, and after I watched it, I seriously did throw up. Literally, I did. And so, mostly it didn't have anything to do with the show or what I was watching, but some of it was like, how did they get away with this? But Austin and McMahon, I think that's perfect example of a robbery between two people and how it should be done. Like, and that stretched out for how long? And I don't think it really ever got like old. And so, and the stunner heard around the world. Anything else to add, Mikey Mike?
Nope.
Alrighty, well, moving on. Since we're talking about Vince McMahon, this is something I remember watching this show, this episode, and it was kind of a weird episode. You had Vince McMahon walking through the backstage area, and everybody just looking at him, watching him leave. He pauses, he goes over to his limo, pulls open the door, pauses, looks back, gets in, shuts the door. Boom! The limousine explodes. And so did my mind. Like, I just did not see that happening. And I remember I remember reading about reports where people had actually called 911 to report the explosion. And I'm I'll admit, like, for a second I'm like, wow, what did I just see? But, I never thought, maybe I should call 911. I don't think Vince is okay. But it was very well done. In fact, I think they had to prove that they recorded it the day before. They recorded the explosion the day before. But this was well done. And because sometimes, and I'm sure you remember or like sometimes wrestling is just so transparent, and you can just you have to work really hard at going, okay, suspend my disbelief. This is ridiculous. But I'm going to give them a benefit of the doubt and kind of go with it. But this, they did the best they could to make it real. And what are we going to do now? Vance's limousine just exploded.
I think they did. I think they even did a thing for, I think Stephanie and maybe Shane like, on WWE.com, an article talking about, you know, I think Father's Day was coming up. I think they did an article, I think it was, about not having him on Father's Day for the first time. And they pretty much went all out. I mean, I don't even know if they got Linda, involved in it, but it was, but you're right. I mean, they did everything to try to make it sound real.
Yeah, and my only regret about this is we never got to see where this was going. And that was because the next week, they had Vince McMahon in the middle of the ring, and he had to basically say, we're ending this storyline because of the death of Chris Benoit and his family. And, that tragedy was far worse than, we didn't get to see how this storyline played out. But still, that was something that I was intrigued by. It's not every day that they try to kill off Vince McMahon. And I was intrigued, and it was well done. Just kind of wish we could have seen where that was going.
When it exploded, I remember sitting there and yelling at my TV, like Vince, get out, Vince, get out of the limo. And then it was just like, oh no.
And then after that, I think the follow-up storyline was Vince had another son, an illegitimate son or whatever, which turned out to be Hornswoggle, and it's like, oh no. Oh no. Now can we kill Vince McMahon?
How lucky is Hornswoggle, Adam? He used to be the illegitimate son of Vince and the Raw GM.
Well, I think that's why he was Raw GM, was because he's the illegitimate son of Vince McMahon. Like, well, Vince, he's like, well, Shane doesn't work for me anymore, and, well, Stephanie's already been GM. Hornswoggle, what are you doing? Want to hide in the ring for a while? Oh, you kind of live there, though, right? How about I get you some Wi-Fi and a laptop? But yeah, that was a moment that, and I think maybe that's why, maybe if we would have, found out what happened, this moment may not have been on our list, but since we'll never know what was in store after that, it's the intrigue of not knowing that makes it what it is. Alright, Mike, what's next on yours?
Alright, to our viewers out there, this next section might be rated R. Sorry, I have to buck the PG trend here. Adam, let me see if you remember this one. Because I think this is the first time I think this has ever been done. I mean, I'm sure we see this stuff in the movies, but Edge and Lita's live sex celebration at the end of Monday Night Raw. Absolutely brilliant, I will say. And I'm not talking about Lita, but
Arya? Arya? Because I think you are. I think you are.
And it was kind of shocking because you at the first time you hear about it, and you think, oh, there's no way they're going to do this. There's no way that it's going to happen. Somebody's going to stop it before it gets anywhere, and there's just no way. TV and it's like they went through with it, and I think many people tuned in for it. I think it might have been maybe behind, or somewhere close to This Is Your Life in terms of how many viewers watched that segment. Because it was something I think nobody thought they would do. And Adam, I'm probably sure you probably thought there's no way it would happen.
Yeah, that's actually what I was thinking. And to be quite honest, this...
What's your reaction when it first came out? They said that Edge and Lita was going to have a live sex celebration. What was your first reaction?
Somebody's going to interrupt it. Somebody's going to keep it from happening. And you have no idea how close this came to making my top 5. Of course, some of that may have to do with the fact that I was 16. And I may have had a little crush on Lita. And, well, how opportunistic. See what I did there? Ultimate opportunist. Anyway, yeah, you're right. And which I think really fit and made Edge, who he was and is and will always be, and why he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. It was an entertaining segment. Well, I guess it was. All I really remember is Lita, but I'm sure the rest was good. I don't even. Was Edge there? Did he even? I'm not even sure Edge showed up. I remember a bed. It was a bed.
To many people, they probably just block out Edge and just pretend.
But it was a good segment. Like, in all seriousness, a good segment, and a little racy, for the time. Because after the Attitude Era, it kind of went, and we went PG, and kind of, well, later they went PG, but, it's still, like, they had no reason to be racy. They had no competition to worry about and try to outdo. Well played, WWE. Well played. Golf clap. I'm just glad no one had to bark like a dog. That's all I've got. I can't believe I just said that, but that's all I've got.
I don't know, but I think we should probably get back to being PG before we get shut down here.
Probably. All right, well, I'll take this moment and tell you my next one. I think this is my third on the list. And this was my final moment to pick. It's not like my fifth one, but it was the final one I put on my list. And it was really hard trying to find a fifth moment. And so I had to search, and I was really trying to just remember, what do I remember? What do I remember going, wow, or, my draw dropped. And I was looking on WWE.com, and I ran across a video playlist of Raw cliffhangers.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw it, and I'm like, you know what? I do remember going, what is going on? Where are they going with this, and why? And it was when the Nexus took over. And it was big in my mind because not only did you have 7 guys just destroying the place, from turnbuckles to announce tables to choking Justin Roberts with his own tie. Of course, that later got Daniel Bryan fired, but then rehired, so it's okay, it's cool. But you had 7 guys that you didn't know anything about, except for what you saw on NXT, if you even watched NXT. And it's just like a big old pack of unstoppable just dogs and destructions and so many questions. It was just something that we hadn't seen like that in a while, like just destruction. And to me, it made a big impact, especially for 7 rookies who no one knew anything about. And you had the ringleader, Wade Barrett, who had a lot of charisma and was really good on the mic. And, well, I mean, I liked him. And too bad that it kind of fizzled out
Mm-hmm.
But that moment would probably be, it may not live, forever like The Rock and Mick Foley or the limousine explosion or some of the ones we have later on the list. But I think it's something that you can definitely go, oh yeah, I remember when that happened. That's kind of shocking.
Yeah, I mean, when it first happened, I think this was after NXT season 1. Um, we all knew Wade Barrett had the guaranteed title shot or whatever. So, it made sense for him to come out, and I think it was a match between Vince and CM Punk. And they were, Barrett walked out, and, it made a lot of sense because he had a title opportunity, so, of course, he's going to have interest. But then it's like everybody else starts coming out of nowhere. And nobody knows what's going on. And it's like they surround the ring. Next thing you know, they just start going ballistic and attacking any and everything in sight. I mean, totally unexpected.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what pushed it over. To me, it's just having for WWE to put 7 guys and just go, have at it, boys, and just rip it up.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that was kind of that was interesting, and just see where they took it. Most of them, it didn't lead to much, but I definitely think it was a good way to start your career, in WWE.
Oh yeah, like you said, I mean, it fizzled out at the end. I think probably when you look back on it, I think maybe it probably would have been a lot more capitalized better if, say, I think if Wade Barrett would have beat Randy Orton in Survivor Series or actually won the title.
Yeah.
So pretty much at that point, it basically just fizzled out when Barrett lost to Orton.
Alright, well, that's all I gotta say about the Nexus invasion, and we should probably hurry up and wrap it up before they invade us again. Just at it. They probably had trouble getting Goldberg. I mean, Ryback. My mistake. But alright, Mike, what's next on your list?
This was after the invasion. 2001, after Survivor Series. Vince McMahon standing tall. No more WCW. No more ECW. And as Vince and Kurt Angle in the ring, Vince is working Kurt Angle the title. And it was, by the way, it was right here, Charlotte, North Carolina. There, that's my best Mick Foley impersonation. Now, and out of nowhere, just Ric Flair's music hits. And here comes Ric Flair down the aisle. Next thing you know, he says he's the co-owner of the WWE. I mean, nonetheless, let's forget the fact that they didn't hire him until after the invasion was over. I mean, he was WCW, besides Sting, but this was something too, the co-owner, and this kind of like started the whole, this was the precedent for the GM.
Yeah.
And GMs, Flair and Vince going back and forth, co-owning, And this is when they had the first draft.
Yeah.
Flair, Vince, and something that sticks out because that was one of the best storylines, at least back then, over from like bickering authority figures.
Yeah, I agree. I remember the Vince McMahon, Ric Flair, just back and forth, and then eventually draft lottery. And I remember I think they were trying to get Stone Cold on on one of the shows, and I just loved it. Like I liked that, and just them going head to head, trying to get the best talent for their shows. This was really when Raw and SmackDown kind of became separate brands and their own identities, and I think that was a good move for the WWE. And then, I've never been a big Ric Flair fan, but having him return and them going with this storyline in this direction, it was good to see. Woo! You could say.
I mean, again, nobody saw it coming. I mean, it was kind of like, okay, like what's going on here? And what's Ric Flair doing here on Raw? And it was just, sure, his hometown. I'm sure he was strolling by the arena and, hey, look, WWE's in town. I want to stop in and say hello.
Yeah.
But it's just, it was probably one of the better parts of Ric's career post wrestling wise.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on.
What do you have next?
Next up, going with the theme of WCW. Before I tell you, you should keep in mind, at this time, I did not have a computer or the internet, so I knew very little about what was going on behind the scenes on the dirt sheets and all that stuff. And,
I don't think anybody knew back then.
Well, I think there was some, yeah. Yeah, because I think a lot of the dirt sheets, because reading Bret Hart's book and stuff, there was times where a lot of the dirt sheets got around. And anywho, Shane McMahon announces the purchase of WCW. I really didn't watch WCW that much. I may watch like a little bit during the 8 o'clock hour before Raw. Beyond that, I didn't really watch much. So I had no clue I don't remember even knowing WCW was shutting down, let alone that WWE had bought them. So you tune in one night, and Vince McMahon announces this, and all of a sudden, you see Shane McMahon up on the Titantron, and he tells his father, yeah, McMahon bought WCW, but it's me, Shane McMahon, that bought it. And it's like, whoa, just back it up a little bit. And it's just that kind of thing, like you expect the McMahons to do that to one another. Like, Vince almost had his daughter marry Undertaker and crucified or whatever he was going to do to her, and I think Stephanie has low blowed her father so many times, and just had him beat up, and it's like, if something didn't happen at this point, if somebody didn't buy it out from under Vince, there's something wrong. It is not the WWE. In fact, I'm willing to bet, we'll never find out, but I'm willing to bet it was Shane or Stephanie who put the bomb on his limo. But to me, it was probably one of the biggest moments, especially in my time watching WWE, of them announcing WCW being bought by WWE, and which is what led to the alliance in WCW, WWE, just this huge battle of who reigns supreme. And it was just a great moment on Raw.
Yeah, and at that time, I think at that time, wrestling was like, the popularity of it was through the roof. So it was one of those things when it's like the next day at school. I remember, people would be who watched it. Kids would be like, you see Shane McMahon bought WCW, and people like, I can't wait to see what Shane's going to do with WCW. Or, I remember what I thought was, I was like, it'd be interesting to see what Shane can do with WCW. And lo and behold, the whole invasion angle. But I think as you said, this time, the dirt sheets are just kind of, I guess, like getting started, I guess, and nobody knew what was going on. And Adam, you have actually no idea how much or how close this came to me to be putting it on the list, on my top 5. Which I think, I think this just goes to show, Adam, that, while we're sitting here, we have to, what is this? But I think we're, 998? I think this past week was?
Yeah.
998 episodes, we had to take all of that, everything that happened in those 2-hour shows, and took it down to 5. But it just goes to show that there were just so many things, shocking things that happened on Raw, that, Adam, if we were going to talk about every single thing, down to the detail, down to the little details that happened on Raw, we'd have a 10-hour show. And, Adam, we're only getting paid for 1 hour, so...
Oh, you are? Because I'm not getting paid for any.
Oh.
So congratulations to you, sir.
Don't worry, don't worry, you can hold up our producers and pull Brock Lesnar. I'm
Yeah.
sure they'll make money.
Against the Rope starring Adam Davis.
Now, wait a minute. That brings me to something there. Hold on. How long have we been doing this show, Adam? How long has it been on YouTube?
Been on YouTube? Oh.
What? 5, 6, or whatever, maybe?
Yeah, I think we've got about 5 or 6 episodes on YouTube. Been doing Against the Rope since 2008 or 9.
Well, Adam, I just have to say this. Vince, where is our U.S. title shot? We are popular than Zack Ryder. We deserve a shot.
I can't disagree. We should start a Twitter campaign.
Yes. And get a petition. We'll get all the Tiny Talk members to sign a petition, and that will so work.
And then we'll get their families to sign it as well.
Yep. Santino is going down.
Yes. Yeah, and but getting back to it, yeah, it was a huge moment for WWE, WCW, and I remember watching the WCW DVD, and they were talking about how none of them had a clue what was going to happen after that night. I think it was Ric Flair versus Sting was the last match.
Yep.
And they just talking about the unknown and just not knowing what was happening. And how I think some of them didn't even know that WWE had actually fought them. So it's like being in the dark on that. Yeah, that was just, it was a great show, and it kind of goes to show you how when things are kept a secret, just how big of a payoff it can be. But speaking of WCW, and the unknown, what's your next one?
My next one was, I think we're at our favorites here.
We are.
The good stuff.
So saying the rest of it hasn't been good stuff? I think they have.
Oh yeah. The thing is here is, I talked about Ric Flair being the co-owner of the WWE, and well, right after that, I think that was when they introduced the general manager story. And Vince comes out, he says, he comes out to the NWO music, he says, "This is the last time you're going to hear this music." Despite the fact that Kevin Nash has used it in the past year or so.
Yeah.
It's time to move on, and we're going to have 2 general managers. And it's like, okay, well, we all know who that's going to be. I think most people assumed Shane and Stephanie.
Yeah.
I mean, Ric Flair even alluded to it. It's, who's gonna? There's nobody that's gonna run. It's like who's gonna run it? And it's like, well, their last name probably is McMahon. And what did you think when they first started this? Did you have any ideas on who it could be?
Hornswoggle. Off the top of my head, Hornswoggle. No, I had no clue who this was going to be. I do remember being excited and just could not wait to find out who it was. I probably did think it was Stephanie or Shane or whatever, or a McMahon, but I don't remember ever really even knowing who it would be. I just know I was excited.
Yeah, and I think most people were like, okay, it's probably Shane on Raw and Stephanie SmackDown, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
But then throughout the night, we get these hints, and it was like, get all these hints about who it could be. And out of nowhere, here comes Eric Bischoff walking into Booker T's interview with the coach, strolling along. Never mind the Booker T is doing the interview. Just strolling along. Oh, good. It's nice to see you again, Booker. And it was like, and it truly was a Booker T moment. Because it's like, you had to do a double take. You see Eric Bischoff on Raw. It's like, wait a minute. It's like, am I seeing things here? And, it can't be. Because you got everything that happened between Vince and Bischoff and how much they hated each other. You think there's no way in the world they would ever do business together.
Yeah.
It's like, and now nowhere it's like the new general manager, Eric Bischoff, and they're out there hugging, and it's like, goodness here. What's going on?
Yeah.
That had to be. That's just something that nobody expected, really. Nobody would have thought to see Eric Bischoff on Raw, ever.
Yeah, and this was a huge moment. I can't deny it, and I remember this moment clearly. Like I told you, I was really super excited about this. And then I see this guy just walking through through these wrestlers, and I'm like, who is this guy? And why should I care? Because you keep in mind, I didn't watch WCW. I knew there was a ratings war. I knew they were competing against them. That's why I didn't watch WCW, because I was a WWE guy through and through. Didn't change the channel. And once Raw came on, I stayed on there. And I just did not know who Eric Bischoff was. By name. Did not know, or even by looking at it. No clue who he was. I don't remember. I barely watched WCW, so I wouldn't have seen him on there because I didn't watch it. And I don't really remember him being alluded to on WWE or Raw or whatever. So when he came on the scene, I'm like, who is this guy? And then when I find out who he was, I'm like, wow, this is a big deal. Too bad my lack of knowledge killed it. But yeah, truly a great moment on Raw, and the only reason it didn't make mine was just because I was out of the loop, and that was just me not watching WCW and, being up on it at the time when it was revealed who he was, but it really was, after the fact I found out who he was, it was pretty shocking. And probably one of the better or top moments for WWE, in terms of, and that's what I like about wrestling, is you can never say never. Like, no matter how much, and that's what they're saying about the 1000th Raw, is that no matter, Vince is saying, no matter what kind of beef people have or, disputes or whatever, pull out all the stops and make it a big show, make it huge. And, that's what this is saying. Like, even the history that they've had with each other, willing to put it aside to do something entertaining and never seen before and never thought would ever be seen. And it was a good idea, a good execution, and a real plus for WWE.
Oh yeah, and I think when you look at, I don't think anything's on top. It's all shown up on Raw, unless somehow, I don't know, Dixie Carter somehow ends up on Raw, but
even then, like, I don't see that outdoing Bischoff just because there's not that history. Like, WWE is a dinosaur, and TNA at this point is like an ant. And until they become, a T-Rex, like, they just can't, they won't be able to, I just think they're going to be nothing more than just a nuisance. Well, not really even a nuisance until they, build that up. But you're right. Stuff like this only happens every once in a while. Like, it's not something that you get all the time. And it was good to seize the moment, opportunity for WWE and Eric Bischoff. I think that definitely deserves the top spot. And speaking of top spots, we're wrapping up the show here with my final, my probably favorite moment on the list. And while this does not compare with Bischoff becoming GM or anything shocking like that, to me this was just, I just remember just being so entertained by this, and just loving every minute of it. And as Daniel Bryan and AJ need to just keep in mind if they ever do decide to actually get married, is that weddings in a WWE ring never go well. It just never works out.
Whoa.
Huh?
Hey. Well, first of all, that's never going to happen. And second, when me and AJ get married, it's not going to be in a ring, so it's going to work out perfectly.
That's good. I'm not saying anything about it. I'm just saying, just don't get married in a WWE ring. And Triple H made sure of it. My favorite moment on this list is when the game Triple H weds the $1 billion princess in Vegas. The Vegas chapel scene was so outlandish and ridiculous, it was hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
It just led to more entertaining TV, with Stephanie turning on Vince and leading to the McMahon-Helmsley era, which you love to hate. And it just goes to show you that anything involving the bride being slipped roofies can lead to happy ever after. And can I just point out that this was before The Hangover.
Yes. And Wedding Crashers.
So
is the ultimate wedding crasher.
Yeah.
He did start in the sequel of the Wedding Crashers.
Well, I think the Wedding Crashers was a sequel. I think this was the prequel. But to me, this was just one of my favorite moments. One that I remember vividly, and just Test and everything in the ring getting destroyed, and just it's a great moment. Great moment.
Oh yeah. I mean, the whole McMahon Helmsley era was brilliant, and it was just such a great storyline. Yeah, and nobody expected Stephanie to turn on her, father. She was built up as, daddy's little girl, and it came out of nowhere. Triple H, he's just like, I don't know, I just want to say like this, like big, like, can't think of the word right now, I'm striving, but it was like, after everything's going on, it's like, you think she would side with her father, and it's like, out of nowhere, she turns on him, and, I mean, it's pretty much just like, triple, it's like Stephanie bringing a guy home, and Vince says, that guy, he's not right for you, and then she ends up going with him anyway.
Yeah.
Which was true, but you know what I'm saying.
Well, unless you have anything else to add, I think I am good. I think that will end our special edition of Against the Ropes for the 1000th episode of Raw and our top 10 moments of Raw. And I think, I'm not sure what our next show will be, but you can guarantee that, we can guarantee that it will not be hosted by Eric Bischoff. There will be no limousine explosions. I can't guarantee a wedding because who knows what AJ and Mike will do. Can't guarantee that. Who knows what will happen on the next episode of Against the Ropes or Raw for that matter.
We should find the rest of the 10 count here. I don't know if you sent out the letter, but the Money in the Bank viewing has been canceled, unfortunately. But there's the Raw 1000 episode viewing.
Yes.
Which should be very, very fun because we normally do pay-per-views and big occasion like Raw, like the 1000 episode, that deserves a viewing.
Yeah. And they're supposed to be pulling out all the stops, so I'm kind of excited to see it.
Pulling out all the stops. Yeah, and it's like when I saw that, you brought this up earlier. It's like bringing back whoever, despite all grudges and politics and whatever. It's like they're really trying to go all out here and try to give us some like new people and new legends, I guess, that we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah.
But I am still confused over damn it. I lost my train of thought there. I was trying to bring up that commercial, but I lost my train of thought. We can edit this out, right?
We don't get paid for editing anymore, Mike. Didn't you get the memo?
No.
You're probably too busy watching the Raw commercial.
Hey, look, we have to go to Kuwait, all right, for this, all right? I was busy trying to map best my way to Kuwait for this viewing, all right? I didn't get the memo. I don't know about you, but
I gotta go bake, so I can't.
Gotta bake it.
Bake a cake. There's cake baking to do, and then gotta meet somebody by the lake, and
Oh, and wait a minute. And Adam, listen to my future wife. Always hydrate.
Well, I'll try, but I can't make any promises. Alright, well, on that note, I think we will end Against the Ropes before it gets any crazier, like AJ. No offense, Mike. Alright, well, until next time, I am Adam.
And I'm Mike.
And this has been Against the Ropes. Thanks for listening. Until next time.